about it, but why don't you tell them what you're doing in Portland and also go into this, please?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I think what we see in Portland is really a smaller example of what we see around the country regarding some of the civil unrest and the attacks on law enforcement. And what you find in Portland is about 5.5 weeks of continued violence against a federal courthouse there that the Department of Homeland Security protects. We've had to send in additional individuals. We're making arrests. But there has been violence, there's been assaults on federal law enforcement officers, and it really just shouldn't occur. We should have more support of the local police there, but again, the Department of Homeland Security, along with the DOJ, FBI, and others, are surging resources, and we're starting to make a difference there.
Yeah. So, how many of you arrested?
I believe it's been close to a dozen thus far, and DOJ has charged almost as many as well.
And I know you have it in very good control, but it's a pretty wild group, but you have it in very good control, so yes, we appreciate it. Local law enforcement has been told not to do too much. It's not the way it's supposed to be, but that's okay. Right. Good job. You've really done a great job.
Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Well, for decades, let me just build on what the Commandant said. For decades, counter-drug operations have really been at the core of both the Coast Guard and the Department of Homeland Security's mission. Year after year, the Coast Guard has stood watch both in the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific. And so with this operation, Mr. President, you have recognized the threat that illicit narcotics play in harming America. And while previous administrations have admired the problem, you're taking concrete actions with this operation. This effort is bringing the power of the United States military along with the department to bear on this problem. And we're having successes that we've talked about. What we've seen is the partnership. Again, DHS, not only the Coast Guard, CBP, air assets are flying constantly in the region as well, and we have ICE Homeland Security investigations helping DOJ, as we heard, prosecute. We are one team accomplished on a shared objective, and that's keeping the American people safe at the end of the day. Mr. President, I would say the men and women of the Coast Guard are unrivaled when it comes to sea-based drug interdiction. While it takes a whole government approach, from collecting intelligence to identifying targets, it's the brave men and women of the Coast Guard who continue to be at the tip of the spear. And whether it's from a Coast Guard cutter or a Navy ship, Coast Guardsmen every day are directly engaging narco traffickers and taking them down. So I wanted to make sure that you were absolutely clear on that front, and we certainly value the partnership that we're getting from DOD, SOUTHCOM, and others. And what we heard also is really at your direction. We're not only seeing targets at drug cartels, we're also seeing rogue nation states and politicians that support them. We talked about the Department of Justice's recent indictment of Nicolas Maduro and 14 of his cronies that proved to the world that everyone involved in drug smuggling will be held accountable. And I really think that sends an example to all, that whether, again, you're a drug cartel, you're a DTO, or you're a rogue nation state, we're coming after you. So again, thank you for your support.
Thank you very much.
And I think actions speak louder than words in this case.
Thank you, Chad. And the wall is coming along very well. Chad is responsible for supervising that, along with the Army Corps of Engineers, who have been fantastic. And Mark Esper, that's been really one of your pet projects, and it's been going along. We're up to 250 miles, and that's real wall. That's a wall that you don't get through. It's tough stuff, and built to the highest standard, built to everything that Border Patrol wanted. They all sat down and they designed their perfect wall, and then we said, let's build it that way. And we're up to 250 miles. By the end of the year, we'll be up to 450 or so. And we'll have it finished very shortly thereafter, and it's made a tremendous difference because your numbers on the southern border are very, very small coming through, and especially with COVID, that turned out to be very lucky for us that we had the wall, or we would have been inundated because they do have some big problems. I was with a great gentleman, the president of Mexico, 2 days ago. We had a long talk about the southern border in Mexico, and they've had some difficulty, but he's doing a fantastic job as president. But the wall is very exciting, and we'll have that opened relatively very shortly. And that was despite all odds, I would say, Mark, wouldn't you say? It was despite all odds. We had a certain party that was against it. They're not against it anymore, you know. In the end, they just raised their hand. They said, we don't want to take this on because politically it turned out to be as good as we always knew. You know, two things never change, walls and wheels. Wheel will never change. You know, they were talking about technology. Technology is no good without the wall, and but it's something that I've heard for a long time. Two things you will never change in 1,000 years from now: a wheel and a wall. They work, and this wall has really been unbelievable the way it's worked. So great job, and let's get it finished. And tremendous numbers on the southern border, very few people coming in. Appreciate it. And we've made a lot of legal changes, too. Makes it a lot easier for you. Robert, please.
Mr. President, thank you. I want to take folks back to April 1st as the COVID crisis was breaking and all attention was focused on it. The President had the foresight to launch an enhanced operations to disrupt the flow of dangerous drugs to the United States from narco-terrorists. Our adversaries believed that the United States would be distracted, but Mr. President, you weren't distracted, and I think you remember you sent Secretary Wolf and Admiral Schultz, Secretary Esper, Attorney General Barr, and me out to make the announcement on this operation. The traffickers used their funds for nefarious purposes, among them to finance the regime of Nicolas Maduro, the illegitimate regime in Venezuela. And for years, Venezuela has flooded the United States with cocaine. It poisons our communities, and it fuels a dangerous epidemic of addiction that threatens the safety and security of all Americans. The situation in Venezuela has gotten so bad that earlier this week, Admiral Fowler called the Venezuela a paradise for drug traffickers who enjoy the support and cooperation of the Maduro regime and his allies. Now, to crack down on the traffickers, President Trump deployed additional ships, aircraft, security forces that you've heard about. But the other thing that he did, which is less focused on, is he rallied our 22-nation coalition partnership to help in this effort to interdict drugs. So that fight includes, as you've heard, Colombia, Ecuador, Honduras, El Salvador. On the flight down from Air Force One, Mr. President, I told you I was on the phone with my counterpart in the Netherlands, the Dutch National Security Advisor. They've been part of this coalition fight, and they're very proud to be partnered up with Customs and Border Patrol, DEA, the Coast Guard, our military, working in the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific, where we've all had a huge effect. In addition to this operation, the Colombian-led Operation Orion 5, in partnership with the United States, has disrupted or seized approximately 50 additional metric tons of cocaine that would have otherwise come into our country, Mr. President. So President Trump has been resolute in his commitment to protecting the American people from the scourge of narco-terrorists and traffickers. Our military deployments in the Caribbean and in the Eastern Pacific will endure. Those profiting from illicit drugs and the destruction of our communities will be brought to justice. The United States will continue its maximum pressure campaign on the Maduro regime, which has a criminal hold over Venezuela. And I can tell for the Venezuelan people, when I speak with President Trump, he asks almost every day, how are things going in Venezuela? What can we do to help the Venezuelan people? This operation is part of that effort. Venezuela is a narco state led by a corrupt, criminal, illegitimate regime, and the people of Venezuela are suffering because of Maduro. Mr. President, you've been committed to cutting off his financial lifelines, identifying ways to continue to support the Venezuelan people and ensure the unfettered flow of humanitarian aid to those same people that are suffering. So for those of you in Venezuela, I can let you know that President Trump continues to stand with you. He stands with Interim President Guaido, the democratically elected National Assembly, and all the people that are fighting for their freedom and their basic human rights and a restoration of democracy and the rule of law in Venezuela. President Trump's fight against drugs and narco-trafficking in the Caribbean and in the Eastern Pacific are good for the United States of America. They're good for the people of the region, including Venezuela, but they're also good for the entire world. So, Mr. President, it's an honor to serve with you in this effort. Thank you for all that you're doing, sir.
Thank you very much, Robert. And James, please.
President Trump, as your principal drug advisor, thank you for your commitment and your leadership on the drug issue. I echo your thanks to the men and women who wear a uniform, whether it's the military or whether it's our state and local law enforcement partners who are stopping these deadly drugs from entering our country and thus saving American lives. You laid out a comprehensive strategy to prevent drug use before it starts, to get more people into treatment, and importantly, as we're talking about today, to stop these drugs from coming into our homeland. At your direction, we've implemented a whole government approach. We've made record investments, and we're taking real action, which meant you have received, and more importantly, the American people have received real progress. We must recognize these drug cartels are trying to take advantage of the pandemic, and you are not letting that happen. You are making certain that those people who are suffering and risk death are making sure that we are taking the steps necessary to protect them. That's why your leadership in this step is so important. You're sending a clear message that this administration, that this country will not let up in our fight against drug traffickers. You're doing it also with our international partners. For the first time, Colombia, I recognize the work done there. They eradicated 13,000 hectares of cocaine in 1 month, last month in June, and that is before they begin the aerial eradication that we have talked about so often. We cannot let these drug traffickers take advantage, especially these cocaine traffickers that are coming up through this AOR. The surge operations are effective and they're going to continue. And we are going to take the fight to these drug traffickers. You have relentlessly committed to the American people by making investments of $36 billion for both the military fight, our law enforcement fight, as well as treatment. And of course, one of the signature programs of the First Lady, something that's really been led by Kellyanne Conway, of speaking to the American people about the dangers of drug use. The media campaigns that she and the First Lady have done have really made a huge difference in what has happened. And so I'm very appreciative to be a colleague of hers. We rely on Admiral Faller, Admiral Schultz, Admiral Fears, and Master Chief Audette as the ones who are out there actually taking the risks, taking the dangers for the American people. We appreciate what you all are doing, and we urge you to continue to be relentless. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Douglas and Henry, if you'd like to say something, go ahead. Would you like to start? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate the opportunity. I'm proudly serving at GIATF South, and I'll tell you, our workforce is static about the assets that are coming down into our theater. Our morale is very high.
Good.
Our workforce is working relentlessly, as you said, sir, to make sure that we are building our immune system and keeping it good so we can work throughout this COVID crisis. They're doing it through great sacrifice to their families at times, but they do it because they believe in the mission that we're doing, and we want to stop these transactional.
So you're working on your immune system.
Yes, sir.
That's an interesting one. Not too many people have heard that one. I like that. What do you do for your immune system? Stay in shape.
Absolutely, sir. Working out, hydrating, proper
That's
nutrition,
good.
and staying safe on our
I'm going to have to start doing that, I think. That's a good idea.
and we're doing it, and we're proud to do it. Thank you.
That's
so much
great.
for
No,
being
that's
out
great.
here. And lastly, I'd tell you, our men and women in the military really appreciate the 3.1% pay raise you gave us this year. It means a lot to our men and women who work hard and go in harm's way all across the globe. So thank you so much, sir.
Well, thank you. And Mario obviously had a good immune system because you recovered. Wasn't pleasant, but you got there, right?
I don't recommend that as a dietary.
No, it's not good. But you did a good job.
And by the way, thank you for your multiple calls while I was.
Absolutely. Well, you've been my friend. Thank you very much, Mario. Please.
Sir, thank you for coming down today as your tactical commander down on the edge of this operation. I've been in this mission space for over 30 years. I've never seen this many resources applied to the problem set of transnational criminal organizations and counter-narcotics operations. So we have under our roof 21 different countries represented by their foreign liaison officers. They come to work every day trying to lean into this problem set. We've got a whole of government from the U.S. government with a completely joint force from all the branches of the service, as well as all of our interagency partners from all the departments and agencies and beyond what's represented in this room. And so we're just grateful for the opportunity to lean into the problem. And I can tell you with surety that we're targeting and we're getting after this every single day. So thank you for your time, sir, and the resources.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Douglas. And we have the best equipment that we've ever had as a military. We spent $2.5 trillion on our military, and some of it's arriving, some of it's coming in, but much of it's here. So when you say the quality of equipment, we definitely have the best equipment we've ever had. We have the best equipment anyone has as a military. We have things under construction that we're going to take a look at one day soon, where we have missiles that go, I hear, 17 times faster than any other missile, and the normal type at least, and it's something that nobody has anywhere in the world, 17 times faster. So it's a little hard to spot it when it goes that fast, because by the time you spot it, it's gone. But we have things happening that nobody has even thought about. So thank you very much. You've done a fantastic job. You have all done a really fantastic job, and it's an honor to be here. I want to thank all of the folks behind me, too. I don't want to be rude, because you're more important than all of us, right? But I want to thank you all very much. Great job, really great job. Great to work with you and say hello. Tell them to get well fast, right? Great man. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Admiral, it's yours.
Mr. President, thank you for the time and the attention and the resources, and we're going to stay at this mission. It's a 24/7, and we are going to take the fight to the enemy. And leadership here is committed to the American people. We owe it to the future. And thank you.
You've done a great job. Thank you very much. Thank you, Admiral. Thank you, Admiral. Thank you.